in Hilchos Perek Ches Halacha Yud Aleph, Lulav Shutfin Shekonu Lulav, that required a Lulav as partners, or Esrog B'Shutfin, Ein Echad Men Yoytze Berger Lechavoseh Berishon. Neither of them can fulfill their obligation in the first day of Sukkot. That doesn't matter whether it's a Lulav or a Rova. And nobody's Yoytze on the first day. Rae Gann explains that since it says L'kachton of Chem, which is a plural, we shall take to you plurally all of them, they all have to be shaloi. Until somebody gives it to him the matona. Now, Rae Gann questions from Chulam. The darshan of Chulam begehenim, bigdayim, that it has to be the garments, to tell you that a talis of shutfis that's obligated with suttas. This is bigdayim. It's a garment of someone. Sechem is also a partner. If you have a partnership in something, you're obligated to have challah from it. Sechem, that pairs of partners are chayav b'truma. And so you see that lochem could mean even of partners. So the answer is, that creates hadarchem, that would include also partners, because the plural creates hadarchem of yours, and otherwise it says creates hodor, it's a singular, therefore it has to be every individual. So the question is, if you have to take, everyone has to take it, why doesn't it say v'lakachtu l'cho rather than lochem? And the answer is that lochem comes to tell you that every single person has to take. Like we find in Sukkah and Toros Kahana, the obligation is everyone. Not one individual should take and the others will be yoytze with his taking. Like the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur may be doing the avodah. Therefore, supposing the Hachem, and the interpretation he has to be his completely. However, it's still questionable esrog that his friend gave it to him matona. Not a question, but still, esrik, if you gave it to him matona, you can't fulfill your obligation. The Rambam continues, Achim shekonu esoigim mitvisas abayis. If somebody passes away and leaves children, so the brothers acquire the esoigim that belong to the estate. So the question is, like, what is tvisas abayis? That it's the fathers. Another life of man esrik v'yotzebo. One of them took it, now it became his in a certain sense. If you can eat it and destroy it basically so it's no longer around, then the Achim and the brothers don't mind, therefore he fulfills his obligation. He shouldn't eat it, then they have to give their portion to him as a matona. If he brought the Zeh Esrog, Zeh Parish, if one of them said, okay, I'll have the Esrog and yours will be the watermelon, right? Or they both bought from the marketplace Esrog, Rima, and Polish, 3 different items with the money from Tvisas Abayis from the estate, with money. Mitzvahs abayis on the money of the estate, and you can't fulfill your obligation until he gives you as a matona. Even though when you buy it to purchase it, you see they're going to purchase food, the esrog, a rima, and a porish, not going to look for esrogim. The Maggid Mishnah cites in Baba Basra, the brothers acquired an esrog through an estate, and one of them took it and was yoytze. If he can eat it, he's yoytze. If not, he can't. He's not yoytze. Only an esrog. But Peirush HaMeir loy. Peirush HaMeir, it becomes his. This is the gears and of the storm and the going and the riff, and it means karamam that it doesn't have. If there's no other esrogim, even though they're not makpidim, he cannot fulfill his obligation because there's only one esrog. Therefore, even though they say they're forgiving, it doesn't help. But if there's other esrogim, even this one was the nicest amongst them, it helps because they do not They're not strict about this among themselves, and they say so. The Lechem Mishnah cites that the Rambam and Tosfos push off this text. And therefore, he explains that the Rambam is of the opinion that since usually a person is not stringent about his brothers, even though one of them might be stringent, object, you cannot fulfill the obligation relying on natural order of things, of people, but he has to say specifically that I forgive you. It's okay. But when they have other Yisroelim, he doesn't have to say. There for sure, he doesn't have to say that they're not makpidim. This is what it says in Maggid Mishnah, when there is from that type, etc., because they're not makpid, then it helps because they're not makpid, because usually people want to have certain food items. Furthermore, he explains the words of the Rambam that they're not careful about what they eat or how much they eat, because of the value. But if they do so because of the value, you do not fulfill your mitzvah, and then if he didn't say specifically, I don't mind, it would not help, and he would not fulfill his obligation. Machon Lulav. If you should bought a lulav, my mission cites in the Riv that you should learn that two that bought a lulav in shutfis, no one can be yotzei on the first day until the other one will be makdim his portion, because it has to be yours. Now, Rashbo says that the Gemara is talking about brothers, that they didn't buy an esrog to be yotzei, to fulfill their mitzvah, but rather to eat it or to smell it. But if they bought it from the very beginning to fulfill their obligation, they fulfill it. Because even if one doesn't give to the other, we say yesh beira. We say that that's the part of the partnership, that when I use it, it's mine. When you use it, it's yours. And just like when a person uses a courtyard, it belongs to everyone, and whatever part that whoever's using it at that time, they can go in whenever you want. It's like in Hilchos Sukkah, we find that even though if somebody said I can't benefit from another person, if they have a courtyard that they jointly work or use, they can go in because each one is using his own part. And we're talking there where you cannot divide it up. If they can divide it up, we tell them to divide it. For here too, an esrog, if you divide it up, you can't use it any longer for an esrog. Therefore, it could be that that's why in many places they buy from this money of the kehillah, they buy one lulav and one esrog. So how can you do that? And then they, like the Rajra, that you bought it and everybody's a partner, so everybody has their portion. Whenever they take it, that's their part in it. That's what the Rajra says. That goes Maimonides brings to the Rashbam that why everybody makes a brocha on one esrog if it was bought by the community, because it was given to them. We all agree that it was given to make the bracha and give it back, and so Tosfos writes. But he always to Hashem and honors the mitzvahs to do them properly. So they should have his own lulav and esrog in order to do the shaking of the lulav as well. If you only have one, then everybody can make a bracha, but they can't all shake it at the same time. And furthermore, there's a din of Be'oiv Am Harod's Melech. And most people make a bracha that their partners think they can do it on an esrog that's a partnership, and they don't need, they have to give it back as a matona. So we have this disagreement as to whether you have to give it or not. According to the Rashbam and Tosfos, the entire killer has to agree to give their portion. That it belongs to everybody. That it's given to him. And even if you don't say so, it's considered as he gave it to him. But according to the Rashbam, it's considered theirs, and they don't have to give it. When he has it, that's his moment of partnership. The Magen Avraham points out that in Shuvas HaRashba he says they didn't do so. The Halacha L'Maaseh didn't tell people to do that, but the Rebbe answers that in a different tshuva, the Rashba paskins that even if one took it, it's his, even if he took it against the will of his friend. Let's say his friend was very into it for a long time. He says, I have to die already. He wants to take the as you can Lulav, he can do so. Shulchan Aruch in 658 of Zion, paskins that Shutfim and Boda Lulav are esrog together. No one is fulfills his obligation the first day until he gives him the portion as a matona. The Rambam points out that it's only that they didn't buy it for the mitzvah. If they bought it for the mitzvah, they fulfill their obligation, because that's why they bought it. Machon Nesher explains, since they knew at the time of the taking it that they can't divide it up, therefore they bought it under that condition, as if they said that each one, at the time that he takes it, it should be his completely. That afterwards he'll give it back to his friend. But still, it's better to say Peirush that everyone gives his portion to Machon to his friend, on the condition that he's going to return it. The Mechaber cites the Rambam that brothers who acquired an esrog because they inherited it and they haven't divided up yet the inheritance, and each one took an esrog. If he can eat it, and the other ones do not care about it, he fulfills his obligation. But if each one says, wait a second, it's partially mine, then you have to give him it as a matona. If when they went to purchase items, one bought an esrog and another one bought a type of fruit called a parish, and the Be'er girls of the parish is called a kviaten. Mishalmi calls parish because it's set aside to be cooked. Or they bought it together. It can't be raised with the esrog until he'll give him his portion matona. Even though if he'll eat it, he won't care. He can't fulfill his obligation without acquiring the other portion, because if he doesn't have another esrog to fulfill his obligation, when he just says you can use it, it doesn't help. But if he says it's yours, then it's his. However, if there's another esrog there, even if he took the better one, it's a mechila without stating it. It's probably a mechila, and they're not makbid. On an esrog the kahal bought b'shutvis, the Mechaber says that since they bought it for people to fulfill their obligations, it's as if they specifically stated that everyone in the congregation is given his portion when he gives his portion to the other person who's taking it, but on a condition that it be given back to the community. Machon Nesher points out that since not everyone knows to give it back, therefore it's better to make a brocha on his own if he has his own species, even though if they're not as nice as the other person's. If he doesn't have his own, it's better he should take his friends, the kosher, than he should take from the kahal, because there are those who are of the opinion that the esrog that belongs to the congregation, maybe one of them doesn't know to give it back, or it doesn't know to give his portion to his friend. And the Machon Nesher says to begin with, they should announce everyone should give his portion to his friend as a matona on condition to return it. The Rambam states that a congregation that buys the 4 minim for everyone, the ashirim have to give more money than the poor people. You say, well, we all have an equal portion. And a woman doesn't have to give anything at all since she's not obligated. Every person should try and be quick about doing a mitzvah to buy an esrog alone in order to do the mitzvah the way it's supposed to be done. The Mishnah Berurah explains the majority of the world don't know to give it to other people or to do the nanuim, and even if your Hilchos Sukkah happened on Shabbos, that the actual mitzvah you can't do it any longer. On Shabbos you don't take the minim. Still, you should have a lulav and esrog of your own.